Hey guys, what is happening? Welcome each and every one of you to a new League of Legends video. So today we're going to be looking at a new video that Riot is going to be releasing. I'm actually pre-recording this before it's even out because the LPP partners and whatnot, we got an early preview of the video. Now, this is going to be something that Riot's releasing. As I release the video, it should be pretty much out already. Where they're going to be talking about a massive amount of changes for League of Legends, future changes, current changes, just a lot of new and juicy information that I want to watch with you guys together. So if you guys are excited, don't forget to hit that like button. All that being said and done, let's just jump right into it.
Hey y'all, it's Jess, executive producer on League of Legends. You might have noticed the title of this video is a little bit different than usual.
There's going to be that watermark in the center. I can't do anything about
it. Please. We've tried this format out for about 4 years, and obviously since then we've launched a ton of games. And so what we want to do is still use this format or this venue to be able to talk to you about what's coming up, but also be able to give more dedicated time to each of the games so we can actually give everyone breathing room. Today we're going to be focusing on LoL PC the MOBA and cover 3 topics. First is going to be the state of the game, second is going to be the client, and third is going to be
clients.
Now I'm going to hand it off to Andre, who's going to talk about state of the game.
Okay, so let's see what Mr. Andre has to say with our NA Oceanic League partners.
My name's Andre, and I'm the game director for League of Legends. We're going to be talking today about how the preseason item update went, and the overall state of the game right now. Looking at items first off, we think we've got in place a system that should allow some good increases to choice and diversity for most champions. At the moment, though,
so he says that, but there's actually graphs showing that the choice and diversity is actually not as high as you would think.
Balance is often overshadowing what could be interesting choices.
There's certain items that are
items like Sunfire or Gore Drinker have just been universally good choices for the damage or healing they bring.
Yes.
And so one of their first priorities has been chipping items like that down, so they're not just dominating in terms of raw stats.
There's always going to be items dominating.
On the other side of things, we've then also got some items that just haven't been delivering. So we've been doing work on things like Chemtech Putrefier, which we've been broadening the feasible users there.
Which no one gets,
In addition to that stuff, we're also looking at adding some new non-mythic items to fill in some gaps.
New items coming, guys.
A couple of examples of those are an enchanter item we're trying that's meant to be good against dive or anti-carry heavy teams, or a tank item aimed at countering split pushes. So that even if you're not a split pushing champion yourself or able to just 1v1 a split pushing trend or whatever, there's still a good item to turn to in those situations.
But then what's the point?
Let's look at mythic items in a bit more detail.
One thing I don't like about that, I like the idea behind it, but I don't like it because it's kind of like, well, if you pick Tryndamere to counter the top laner they picked because you know you can outsplit push them because that's your win con. That's literally all the Tryndamere does, for instance. And then to give an item that suddenly makes that an even game all of a sudden, assuming it makes it like even, kind of makes it like,
one
okay,
of the
well,
things
what was
we
the point of
particularly want to avoid is when champions are hard bound to a particular mythic. We're defining hard binding as when a champion buys that item in 75% or more of their games. Sunfire is a good example of that, with a lot of tanks buying Sunfire in 80% plus of their games. Post nerfs, that's down to about 45%, which we think is a lot healthier. Fighters and assassins are also purchasing a pretty wide range of options in most cases. And marksmen are in a fairly reasonable spot, with all 3 of the mythics aimed particularly at them. On the other end of things, enchanters and mages, by contrast, we think need some more work on their mythic items, both in terms of the satisfaction from purchasing them and some of the actual choice architecture as well. Let's talk about a hot topic this year now, the amount of burst damage in League. Our goal with the preseason was to not increase the amount of burst damage in the game.
So the goal is not to increase the burst damage of the game, then they have things like Dustblade, they have the axe, the green axe that does like a disgusting amount of damage when you hit someone for the first time.
Initial tuning and design with items, however, did result in burst going up. As a result, we've gone back and we've removed a bunch of that systemic front-loaded damage, making changes to things like Duskblade, Lichbane, Luden's Echoes, etc.
Luden's is not
We're still monitoring and talking about burst pretty actively. We think it's probably acceptable, though very much on the high side, but might end up taking a bit more out of the game in the moderate future.
Please, if they're going to be taking out burst damage like this, please do something about tank items. Please, I will literally suck your fucking dick. Do some
burst damage.
OP.
We should talk a bit about systemic healing in League. Healing that comes from items and runes. We do think healing has an important place in the game. Without sustain, some of the lane trades can end up just being so punishing that you get forced back too easily, and the game snowballs massively.
True.
But we don't want it to be invalidating a lot of play and decision making,
which currently
like it can when overtuned.
Which it is at the moment.
Some of our item changes ended up introducing more systemic healing than we felt was healthy for the game. And that results in things like grievous wounds feeling too mandatory and chip damage just not mattering.
The funny thing is they're saying grievous wounds feeling too mandatory, which is true. The healing is just way too ridiculous in League of Legends right now. At least they're aware of that. But it feels like even if you get grievous wounds and it's like, oh my god, 60% heal. Bro, if you're facing an Aatrox or a Mundo, it actually doesn't feel like it does anything.
We've hit some of those sources of healing. Things like Moonstone, Ravenous Hunter, Gore Drinker, Ravenous Hydrate, etc. For some, straight nerfs. For others, we've wanted to shift some of that power towards durability in other forms. Let's shift gears now and talk about role strength in LoL and how that's going at the moment.
Role strength?
We want to ensure that all the different positions have a meaningful impact on the outcome of the match.
Okay.
Some positions will be more about scaling or roaming or vision control or whatever than others.
Makes sense.
But every position should be relevant.
Sure.
When we first launched the preseason though, Marksmen and Enchanters were in too weak a spot, so we've gone and made some changes to give them some more early impact. Junglers, on the other hand, were in too impactful a spot.
I mean, they're always
overly
too impactful.
deciding games by themselves.
It's always been like that for junglers.
Finally, let's talk about snowballing rates in League. Whenever we do a major update like a preseason, snowball is one of the things we track particularly carefully. From what we've seen, look at the metrics we track, snowball rates before and after preseason are very similar. So we think we're doing okay there. Having said that, this is also one of the things we'd like to focus on more in the future, get to an even better spot if possible. And so comeback mechanics especially are one of our potential focuses for this year's coming preseason. We particularly want to address cases where
this year's coming
you're behind and it just sort of feels a bit hopeless. It's unclear what you should do to get back in the game. Or it's clear, but it's basically just wait for the other team to screw up.
Okay.
So we're exploring ways to give a losing team plays they can try and make when things aren't going their way.
That'll be interesting. You have to be really careful.
Thank you for watching, folks. Here's Jess again.
What's up, Jess? The client. I'm excited for the client.
All right, let's get into the client.
It's so bad. Oh my god.
The client's obviously been a pretty long-standing pain point. So in the beginning of 2020, the first focus area that was clear to us was actually how much memory it was taking to kind of load each one of these screens. We then basically optimized each one of those screens and was hoping for an improved overall navigation experience. But champ select and end of game screen continued to be pain points for players, and so we took a special look at them. What you should see at the end of the day is a significantly faster client compared to the start of 2020. Now, a bunch of you have kind of mentioned, the social panel is still an issue for you. All those issues that you see with friends not showing up, things like that, we're going to be addressing that this year. The second thing that we're going to be looking into is stability. We've seen kind of the crash reports that players have been sharing with us. So we want to take a pretty firm stance and actually do a full burn down on all the crashes. And so we're going to be addressing a lot of those too. Next, I want to touch on game clarity. Game clarity is one of those things that all the teams kind of work on in a more evergreen way for any of the content that they make. But we want to bring up this topic right now because it's been over 10 years and we've pushed a lot of champions and skins to the game. And so what we want to make sure we don't betray is kind of that level of competitive integrity where now characters might be unreadable or hard to understand what they do or how do you play against them. The first input into that framework is the silhouette. It's the foundation for all of our champions, and we want to make sure that each and every champion has a distinct silhouette. So for example, take Senna. Senna is one of those champions that her silhouette is kind of defined by her ginormous gun. And so you can kind of understand that that gun is her source of power. And what we can do is kind of stretch all the other elements that kind of surround her abilities, because at the end of the day, the enemy knows that it's all going to be coming from this gun. I'll also give a counterexample. Lee Sin is a pretty tough character to actually make skins for, not because he's a complex character by any means, but actually because he has very few distinguishing factors about him. But his animations are what makes him really Lee Sin. And so when we were creating Dragonmancer Lee Sin, it was actually pretty tough.
Skin is pretty sick.
What ended up happening is, when the skin reached PPE, people were starting to notice that they couldn't really recognize that this was Lee Sin. And that was a little bit hard for them to kind of play with, play against. As we saw that feedback come in, we made adjustments, and Dragonmancer Lee Sin is better for it now. But that's the kind of problem that I'm kind of alluding to when we're describing the importance of working around a silhouette of a champion, but also being cognizant of each of the pieces and how they contribute to the readability of a champion.
Ooh, the next event. Oh, what is this?
Next on the list is a new thematic called Space Groove.
Oh my goodness,
Space
look at
Groove
Nessus.
is this kind of wacky, retro-futuristic thematic that we've been really excited to see come to life. It also includes a new champion that will be joining that skin line. And this is the infamous top lane.
I'm pretty sure this is supposed to be Isolde, which is Viego's like wife or something like that. I think she's the queen, I believe. I think this is supposed to be her.
For sure, that you may have heard of at season start as well.
That means she's coming. Assuming that's her, of course. That means she's coming like pretty soon.
Have One For All actually join in with the event, and so for all the One For All lovers who have been asking for this, it's your time to shine. The game mode will be up, and that's it for me. Thanks for watching. Hopefully this kind of provides.
That's it, right? Yeah, that's it. Cool. So that's a lot of information, guys.
Hey,
let me know what you think about it down below. Huge information. Talk about the game issues, game clarity, decline, things coming up. We have the new skin coming up. That looked pretty cool though. This Nasus looking skin, the new champ, of course, and everything as well. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about it down below. I gave my thoughts as we were watching it as well, so hopefully that helped a bit. Maybe give you guys how I'm thinking about it for someone that's been playing this game for way too long, honestly. But yeah, thanks all so much for watching. Let me know what you guys think about it down below, and I'll see you guys for the next one. Peace.